It seems like we've been here before. It feels like we've just recently been put through hell, only to turn around and go right back through it. But here we are, friends, and here's the review for the Brute Tigrex Hunting Horn, Ogrebite. Let's take a look at the stats. We start with an absolute solid 1218 raw, which is definitely the high point of this weapon. After that, we move on to a chunk of white sharpness, with purple sharpness being reachable with 3 levels of handicraft. But damn, Capcom, we're back at it with the negative 30% affinity. Oh, a dormant 270 sleep, which of course means you can bump up your damage with elementless. A truly disappointing 0 slots on this horn, which means more than most with how build heavy you have to go to get the best out of this horn. The song set is a great one. We all know that Attack Up L is the absolute most sought after song, but you combine that with the fact that this set has Impact Wave and the awesome synergy of Recovery Speed L and Extended Health Recovery. And you put that together, and personally you have one of my favorite sets, whether I'm going solo or with a group. There are a few things that really put this horn ahead of the Savage Joe horn and further caused the Joe horn to fall into obscurity. First, the obvious difference in raw with Ogrebite being 42 points higher. You then look at the fact that this horn can go elementless, and that difference goes even higher. When we compare song sets, I really don't see much of a comparison. I think the song set on Ogrebite is just much better and much more useful in a group especially. I'm saying these things about how the Ogrebite is an obvious improvement to the Joe horn, but it still has the exact same limitations that hold it back from being elite. The negative 30% affinity is just insurmountable with the skills that we have at our disposal in Iceborne, especially with the max might nerf. This is another horn that you're going to have to be absolutely precise with every strike that you try to land, not to mention that you'll need to have that area you're trying to strike wounded at all times. And even then, well, may the odds be ever in your favor. Another limitation is that this is a build-heavy horn that gives you absolutely no additional decoration slots. So you really can't bring out the best in this horn at this stage of the game. Of course, with some heavy augmenting, you could bring down that affinity barrier, but while you're augmenting that affinity out, someone else is augmenting the Glavenus or Bone Horn for straight up damage and outpacing you even more with ease. And not to mention, the Ogrebite is a rarity 12 horn, so it's going to be harder to augment than those other horns. Now, as I've said before, this doesn't mean that this horn is unusable by any means. It pulls some great damage. It's just spotty where that damage actually shows itself, so it's less consistent than the other horns. That affinity is going to heavily influence your crit damage, and even with something like the Master's Touch meta, you'll rip through that sharpness very quickly. You can take a try at awakening the sleep and enjoy a sleep horn, or you can go elementless. But don't try to turn this horn into a top 3 damage dealer, because you're still going to be better off going acidic Glavenus or Bone Horn if that's what your goal is. Let's take a listen to the soundtrack. The soundtrack is by no means a nice sounding soundtrack, but when you look to the Brute Tigrex and what it's known for, I feel like the soundtrack fits well, and I can appreciate that. Should you make this horn? I would put this in the category of if you want to collect every horn, then definitely make it. But if you don't feel like grinding your Rotten Vale in the Guiding Lands to level 7, or scouring for someone who will let you join in on their hunt for a Tempered Brute Tigrex, then you won't be missing out on an absolute must-have horn. If you're a person who really likes using the Savage Joe horn and don't mind that negative affinity, then I would say you absolutely should make this horn because it's a direct upgrade to it when it comes to raw attack. That's going to be it for this one, guys. Another horn that is held back from greatness by a steep affinity hole. Is it still viable? Absolutely, 100%. If you like this video, please do let me know with a thumbs up. Comment what horn you'd like to see me do next, and let me know what your thoughts are on the Ogrebite. Subscribe if you haven't already for more Iceborne and hunting horn content. Have a good night, and happy hunting.